You run down on your feature event, 25 laps. On the pole is car number 98, Bud Finale of Jamestown, New York, a 1957 Chevy. Off the pole, car number 220, Chuck Piazza of Jamestown, New York, a 1950.
I had started when I was pretty young, I guess 18 years old. I was doing some drag racing. Enjoyed it, but I thought the lure of a little bit of prize money sounded a whole lot better than running for a trophy. So I bought my first car from Mark Thorpe, and I started to run it. Struggled. Had Jug Pierce help me. He drove for a little bit, and between the two of us, we got through my first season. And I think Dean Layfield, I think everybody remembers Dean, and he drove the car one night and gave me some chassis tips to make the car so I wouldn't spin it out all the time, and helped me a lot. And so gradually started to improve my performance and get into the next year, and was even able to win a race or two the next year. So. But the horsepower was 220, and
that's where the number comes from.
From that came the number, that's right. Somewhere around 61, and Bob Duell had brought a car back that he had run at Daytona. And I looked at it, I wanted to try the Ford, and besides it had that big wind tunnel in it that they run at Daytona, and I thought that's cool, and that would certainly be an edge at a third-mile dirt track. So, but that's what happened, and that's a car I ran for I guess a couple more years.
Were you successful with the car?
I was, and once started winning a few races. Unfortunately, you know, it was pretty hard to win races up at Stateline Speedway back then. You know, if you won one, you were penalized the next week by starting at the back, and so it always made it hard. And but it made you learn how to come to the front as quick as you could, and not get tore up or tear anything up, certainly. You know, you certainly got to look at guys like Hyle Russell and Eddie Kisco and Bobby Schnars and Squirt Johns, and they won. And there were others, you know. Paul Wilson back then was good, and there was a lot of good guys. Tom Dill. In 1966, I won the. I can't recall exactly, but I won either the track championship at Stateline and the overall championship, and then.
Can you remember what some of those highlight races might have been?
Well, I think my first race that I won was probably the Firecracker 50, and I think it was with that 57 Chevrolet, so that could have been probably around 60. And first race that I won, and certainly was big race for that area. And then was fortunate enough to be able to come back the next year and win it again. So, and I did win a 100-lapper somewhere in there, but that was probably the biggest races I'd won up at State. Of course, Ralph ran the NASCAR Sportsman Circuit for years down here, and Ralph's main, not only did he enjoy racing, he was very, very good at it, but that's the way he put groceries on the table, was to win races. And so he reluctantly, back late 60s, early 70s, he left the NASCAR Sportsman Series to run some of the independent tracks in the South. And the better paying tracks were like Charlotte, Metroline, and Cherokee Speedway and Gaffney. And I recall we were running for $800 with $1,000 purses back in those days, and that was good money, and NASCAR was probably paying about $5. So that's when I first met Ralph, when I started running the Charlotte area tracks, which was Concord and Metroline and some of those tracks in that area. And Ralph was very, very talented race car driver. In fact, you know, when it come down to it, I'd hate to have to choose between him or Dale. You know, they were both that good. And but it was pretty apparent that if you would race Ralph clean, you had a better chance of survival than if you tried to rough him up. In most cases, if you roughed him up or tried to, you ended up going home in a basket, like we mentioned earlier. And it just, so I figured out right early that the best way to race Ralph was race him clean. He enjoyed a good run, and so had some really good success racing Ralph that way. And but I think between the two of us, we won every race that year. But I recall, you know, when Dale first had started running the dirt tracks and moved up from the hobby division, he had a '56 Ford. That was the pink car that you may remember.
Mm-hmm.
And that came about. They built the car and mixed several different colors of paint, and it just ended up pink. But he started running that, and I recall when he was running that car, and him and Ralph would be out Concord Speedway, and we would get come to the track. They'd already be there, and they'd be running laps, and Ralph would be leading Dale, and then he'd put him around, and then Ralph would push him, and he got him to run fast. But then one year, I guess I had a good relationship with the Earnhardts, and we had lost an engine at Cherokee Speedway in Gaffney one night, didn't have another one, and Ralph said, I've got a fresh engine on the floor, and if you want to run Metroliner tomorrow night, you're welcome to it. And Ralph didn't do that for hardly anybody. It just, I mean, that was, if you was going to take grocery money off the table, he didn't really want to get too involved with that part of it. But he lent us an engine, and we went up and raced with him. Ralph won the race, and we run second, but not close, pretty distant. And I know when I come in and talk to my car owner, I said, I just don't know how that man runs on the same straightaway with us when we have all our equipment. One of the other highlights of my racing career was the opportunity that I had. I was driving for a pretty wealthy businessman out of Charlotte, Henry Gordon, and his boys had a race team. And I'd had several successful years with them. And then along comes this young kid by the name of Dale Earnhardt. And I had the opportunity to run with Dale most of the season, and we were teammates, and became good friends with him too, as I was with most of the Earnhardt family. They were neat people.